Hey, True Believers England team here, and it's over. Now can we watch the Penguin?
Give me a couple days to get caught up.
So it's been okay. So on Wednesday we had both of the last episodes drop.
Two-part finale. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we get a little bit of backstory for Agatha. We actually get her backstory. And we get off the road.
Yeah, there's.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, let me finish, and then I'll let it go. Okay, so here's a lot of stuff that I've been hearing around, and I've been seeing around. This is the lowest rated Marvel TV show. It's not.
Live.
It's not. No, well, it's not. Yeah, it's not even the lowest rated if you just count just the MCU. The lowest
or the viewership.
Yeah, neither way. If you count for what I think is funny is a lot of people are talking about how critics have blasted it, and it's not even the lowest critic score. That, by the way, correctly belongs to Secret Invasion, both on critic and audience scores. But it kills me that here is with Rotten Tomatoes, I never trust the critic scores anyway. I've never
since
not once since the creation of Rotten Tomatoes. I was always, well, what does the audience think of it? Because audiences and critics watch things differently. But what I think is funny is people who would put down Rotten Tomatoes when it suits them are now praising Rotten Tomatoes because it suits them. And it's ridiculous. Now, how it rated or how it ranked, and I have it up here, and I've been looking at it. It's 83% for critics. It's 82% for audiences. But how it ranks and such puts it above at least She-Hulk, and it puts its audience rating above Falcon and the Snowman. So I'm okay. To me, that's all the bad ones: Falcon, the Snowman, She-Hulk, Echo, and Secret Invasion. That's the viewership. I don't give a fuck about the critic scores, but that's the viewership. And it kills me that people are using that as some kind of criticism of the TV show, and it just kind of points out what we've been saying so far. Well, I don't think a lot of people who are criticizing the show actually watch the show. It's one thing we did find there was one bad episode. I got to tell you, no, just one.
No, but the episode that was bad.
I'm kidding with you. Okay, I'm leading you.
I know, but But just to clarify,
I got to tell you, I watched the both episodes. I watched one on Thursday and then one today, the last one today. And I got to tell you, after I saw what was it, 8th episode? How many are there? There's 9.
There are 9 episodes.
So yeah,
total.
when I watched the 8th, I was like, "Holy shit! I want to fire this ninth one up," but I had to do a show. It was really good. They stuck the landing to this, and
they really did. And honestly, the 8th episode at least is probably the best one of the whole show. Which, when you're ending on one of your best episodes, that's a freaking good way to go out. Because I have been tempering my expectations this entire time. I've been reminding myself it's not done yet. They could still pull a WandaVision episode 9 out of their butt at the last minute, but they didn't. They stuck the landing, and yeah, episode 9 was less good than episode 8. I think it's one of the weaker ones, but the only genuinely made me angry episode was episode 6, and the other weaker episodes were still entertainingly enjoyable. So what am I supposed to do with that? Every episode but one was at a minimum entertainingly enjoyable, and the good episodes were far better than that. So and there's actually more good episodes than there are weak to bad episodes, because I tabulated this out last night when I rewatched it. Episodes 1, 4, 6, and 9 are the meh to bad ones. but episodes 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8 are all varying degrees of awesome. So, what are we supposed to do with that?
Yeah. Well, I like this. Was really, you bring in Aubrey Plaza's character. It's all we found out already that she's Death, and apparently Agatha and Death were having a relationship. But it starts off just showing her basically picking up the witches who died before, and it's just kind of I kind of like that. It was very much reminiscent of, what was it, issue 8 of Sandman, the way it opened, where it's like, and she's
Sound
like,
of Her Wings.
Yeah, where we meet DC Comics Death, and the Asian girl, after she gets picked up, does the whole, wait, that's all the time I get.
You're right. Yeah. There is literally a scene like that in Sound of Her Wings, because she takes a baby who dies of sudden onset infant death syndrome, and
one of my favorite
soul
lines.
Aster, is that all I get? And she goes, I'm afraid so. This is how the cookie crumbles.
I thought she said you got the same as everybody else. Oh no, it was the guy who lived for like 200 years asked, I did a good run, right? And she said, my favorite line was, you got the same as everybody else. You got a lifetime.
Hobgadling, Dream's friend there. Yeah.
It was, I thought it was done very well. Comics Tropes made a very good video on how the Marvel method works. So congratulations to Comics Tropes. It was very reminiscent of that, picking it up, and we get a little bit of insight into why, just a touch of an insight into why Agatha and Death had been fighting, and then we get into the final trial, which is the Earth trial, and we realize that the Earth magic user would have been Lilith as well, and she was dead. And I just liked that particular trial, because it seemed, even though it was Earth, it was more about the spirit of the people that were in there rather than anything external. It was all internal.
The way I framed it in my head was, Earth magic in this case includes grounding, and so that was what that trial was about. It was about figuring out how to ground yourself, how to come down off it all.
Yeah,
because that was when Jen got unbound, which I loved the twist with Jen, and the reveal that Agatha was on some hard financial times in the 1920s, so she sold her spellcasting talent, and the doctor who Jen blamed for binding her paid Agatha off, but he didn't tell her who he was binding, so she did it without even realizing she did it.
She didn't even know she was the one that took away the other people's magic.
I kind of love that for two reasons. One, it is once again a thing that we've been praising this entire time, which is they're not trying to do the Wicked style emotionally scarring backstory thing with Agatha.
This isn't Maleficent.
They're not trying to anti-hero her.
She was a villain all the way up to the end. I mean, she did good things, but she did good things because it served her. And,
and she was never like mustache twirling evil, even when she had the Darkhold, which, as we know, given what the Darkhold can do, that's kind of impressive that she managed to be as nice as she was when she had the Darkhold.
Considering it corrupted the Scarlet Witch, who's supposed to be the all-powerful.
Although to be fair, her powers does come from the same person who wrote it, so she's probably more vulnerable to it even than most. But it also buggered over alternate universe Stephen Strange and Multiverse of Madness as well, so I don't think that's a unique thing just for the Scarlet Witch.
So they end up, they go into a room, and it's the end game, and they need to figure out what's going on and how they can escape this room that's blocked.
The dimension.
It's like, there's no windows, no doors. Now it's time for you to find a way out.
Find your way out.
And so we actually get Like I said, the challenge seems more internal. Am I frozen or are you?
I think you might be frozen
let's
again.
See how this plays out. Sorry, guys.
The technical difficulties is once more a thing, evidently. We shall see if it yeets E off the road. Lol. Yeah, okay. So E is gone for the moment, and I guess I'll go into more of the plot summary part. We find out that Death is after Billy, because his creation was an imbalance in the universe already when Wanda made him and Tommy to begin with. That was already one violation. And then Billy stole a second life from her that he shouldn't have even had to begin with by plopping his own consciousness into a recently vacated dead body. So the other good thing about how the show used Death that I really, really liked was Death is not a villain here. She is Death. She is a natural part of life. And as she sees it, it's the balance of nature. You know, everybody gets their allotted time, and then I come and do my thing.
Hello again.
I really liked, yeah. I was just talking about one of the things I really liked about how episode 8 used Death, which is that Agatha even tries to treat her like a villain, to banish her like an evil, and it doesn't work because she's not good or evil.
Yeah.
She is what she is. She is the balance. She is the end of all things.
That's what she says. She's part of the balance. She's the most natural thing on the planet is death. It went over. I don't know much to say about 8. It was incredible, but it was all a lead up to 9. And because basically all the story comes back and we get the answer to everything in episode 9. So 8 was all set up. 8 was, let's give Jenny her happy ending.
The big finale.
Yeah, and let's find out what is really going on with Billy. And so they do that. Now, I remember when we were talking about the first episode, I said I was looking around the room for all these clues. And they kind of Kobayashi Maru this thing. No, that's Star Trek. Whatever it is in Usual Suspects. The Usual Suspects, when they're off the road, they're done. Everything is as it needs to be. And the kid's sitting in his room and he looks and he sees the Wizard of Oz stuff on his room, and he sees a collection of shoes. By the way, I have a collection of Disney shoes like that. It is, and he's just noticing a lot of the stuff that was all on the Witch's Road. And he, at the very end of the show, he hears hi, and there's that. In the next episode, we are being told Agatha. In the last episode, we're being told Agatha's backstory, where the kid and everything, but she comes right out and says, it's all you. This whole thing, I told you were like your mother, meaning that he created an entire world that all of these witches were walking down, and we actually see the origin of the Witch's Road. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't already experienced it. It was it absolutely, we find out that the origin of the Witch's Road was her child made up a song. That's it. And they kept adding to it and going ahead.
Now see, here's the interesting part, and I mentioned to you before we went live that I'm gonna need the floor for a couple minutes here because I have a theory.
Oh, okay.
We're supposed to believe the surface level answer is Billy made the road real, for lack of a better word.
Right.
That it's a construct similar to the sitcom world that Wanda made. But here's the thing. Some of the way the road operated in these episodes, you can chalk up to he's reading their subconscious minds, or some kind of access to time through Lilia, maybe, or something. But not everything. For example, in episode 8, when the road plays a bait and switch, and sends them back to the start, he is surprised by this.
Yeah.
And if he made everything, then how in the hell does that freaking work? There's another thing.
He did. No, he was surprised that he did it because he didn't do it. He didn't do it consciously. He did it subconsciously. When the road appeared, he was deep in fear because the Salem 7.
Right. But here's there are a couple Easter eggs throughout a couple of the other episodes that make me think it's a little bit more complicated than that. First of all, Lilia is older than Agatha, and she believes the road exists. Also, in episode 5, when Agatha's mommy dearest showed up in ghost form, she treats the road as if it's a thing that exists. And given how much she hates her daughter, it would have been utter child play to go, oh, by the way, my treacherous daughter made this whole thing up. But she didn't. And here's the other thing. The first two things we learned in episode 2, when we actually started getting witch exposition, is within a 3-mile radius, there are enough people to form a coven, enough witchy enough people to form a coven. And when witches get together, even if their power is latent or dormant, it produces a magical spark. Now, here's part 1 of my maybe fan theory, I guess we could call it. Maybe she did make it up, but in the process of making it up, 1, she killed a bunch of covens over the centuries. And if what she said in episode 2 is true, that there's a coven worth in every 3-mile radius, and they bring out a spark in each other, then over the centuries, hundreds and maybe even thousands of witches have died with their last thought, their last desire, their last desperate move being the witch's road, the witch's road, the witch's road. And as we saw in episode 5, when a soul has unfinished business, they become a ghost. But if that were true, Agatha would be carrying around an army of ghosts with her because she's killed thousands and maybe even millions of witches over the centuries. But what if instead what happened is that latent spark that binds a coven and whatever creates a ghost combined and fused, and over the centuries it accumulated into a real version of the witch's road?
So, like, their will created the witch's road, is what you're theorizing.
We already kind of see some aspect of that with regards to Alice's mom, Lorna, the rock star witch.
Mm-hmm.
She drew, she was a Stevie Nicks style rock star, from everything we can tell. And if 5 is the minimum size of a coven, because 1 for every of the elements and then 1 for spirit, the 5 elements. If that's the minimum size of a coven, how many millions or hundreds of thousands of people did Lorna draw during her tour? And we know Lorna used their latent spark to cast the spell on Alice to begin with. And we also know that Lorna believed in the road. So all of those witches, all of those, 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 squared or whatever, witches got their energy together and channeled it into her. She used it to create the protection spell, but she also believed in the road. And one of Lorna's fans was our dear reality bending teen, soon to be Wiccan. So between that and between the fact that I doubt that Agatha has sucked up every coven who's ever tried to run the Witch's Road. And being that as it may, I see there are three options. Option one is she made it up, but the like residual energy of all the people who have died with their last will, their last wish, their last, unfinished business being the Witch's Road, accumulated over the centuries and made it. Option two is that Billy did make it, but because of the way dimensions work, it's possible that he made it throughout all of time.
That could have happened.
Because he didn't destroy the Witch's Road when they got off. He didn't do what Wanda did with her sitcom world and remove the spell. And like I say, there are witches older than her, like her mother and Lilia, or Agatha's mother and Lilia, who believe that the Witch's Road exists. And again, if it was all a lie that Agatha made up, her mom would have mentioned it. So that's another option. Is there some kind of spatial temporal anomaly type thing going on? Option three is, well, Agatha's mother was the high priestess of her coven. So what if Agatha only thinks she made it up? And it really is this thing that's
you're doing a lot of work for the TV show for your theory to have to happen, and that's the big flaw in the theory. It could just be that exactly what happened, and it was a song, and people started singing it, and just as we see in politics, if you repeat the lie enough, people start to think it's real. People start to believe in it. There is a whole bunch of mention throughout the entire show of people trying to find the road, but not knowing how to get there. As a matter of fact, the only person who was known to have survived the road was the person who made it up. And that would be, in their minds, because even when they were going around to town to find the witches to kill them, nobody knew that Agatha, the child, was Agatha's except for Death. So the person, according to the witches, the person who created the who survived, as we know, was the person who ended up being Agatha anyway. So anywho, let's get off the theory, because we have a TV show to talk about and not a lot of time to talk about it. But one thing I did like going through, I did like finding liked finding out what happened to the kid. I thought it didn't redeem her, but it did humanize Agatha a lot more. And I did appreciate that. That being said, I got to talk about the part I did not like. I did not like Ghost Agatha. I love the death scene. By the way, yeah, she gets killed in the end. I love the death scene, but Ghost Agatha popping up, I was like, oh, okay, no, I didn't care for that much.
Yeah, I mean, episode 9 is around the same place as episode 1 for me, where it's like, I don't dislike it. There's no vitriol towards it like there was with episode 6, but it's one of the weaker episodes. But then again, episode 8 could just as easily function as the finale by itself. So,
well, that's absolutely something I was going to bring up. I don't think they needed episode 9. Instead of let's see Billy's life in episode 6, that Agatha episode would have been a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
If we instead of spending time with Billy, we spent the time in the past. Them escaping the Witch's Road was enough. That would have been the perfect ending. Not calling into question its existence or anything like that. Just showing them defeat the Witch's Road even to the point where maybe she goes through the whole thing about, I want you to deliver me the kid and all that kind of stuff. It would have been okay. But the way it ended up, it was okay. It's not like it says, I liked it. It's just, I thought the way it ended was a big flaw with the ghost, when they could have just ended with her sacrifice, or they could have just ended with them getting off the road and going about their business. But they did need the big magic fight. So I guess they need to bring it out, but the show would have been served
but
better.
that was episode 8, which we were just saying could have easily been the finale by itself.
The show should have ended with her becoming that rose garden.
I almost wonder if episode 9 was kind of a Marvel insists that I do this episode so that we have a setup for another show type thing, like an obligate episode. Because that does seem to make sense to me that she probably would have wanted it to end with episode 8, and then Marvel went, you got to leave a loose thread or something so that we have more reason to use these characters. And then she went, okay, I'll make another episode. Which, again, episode 9 didn't do anything to piss me off, is the thing. And like I said, with my close looking at all the other episodes, I'm not so sure that Billy made the whole thing up works as a justification for the Witch's Road not existing, especially because if Agatha has been consistent in her lie over the course of the centuries, then all the people who have died, all the witches, in fact, who have died, have spent their last spark pining after the Witch's Road, which is enough to maybe even make it by itself. And Agatha also said, and again, if she's consistent in her lie, the road changes for the coven. And, well, Billy was part of their coven, so maybe if you want to leave the Witch's Road ambiguous, maybe it's not that he made the Witch's Road, it's that his influence, because him being as powerful as he is what kind of made the surface details of the road. Because he didn't make up.
That could have happened as well, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't make up Alice's demon there for her generational curse. He didn't make up Evanora Harkness. And again, if she wanted to throw a wrench in Agatha's plan, given how spiteful she was especially, why didn't she just go, oh, by the way, my daughter made that whole thing up? But she didn't. She took it seriously, which tells me either that Billy created it throughout all time, which is possible because dimension shenanigans, or that all the people that have given their energy over to the Witch's Road over the centuries, both the people Agatha stole power from and not, like Lorna's fan base, which again does include Billy, which is why I think that even if he did make it subconsciously, he probably would have lent at least some power to her version because he was a fan of hers. So either one, she made it up, but so many people channeled energy into it that it made it anyway. 2, Billy made it up, and because of dimension shenanigans, the road has always existed now. Or 3, Agatha thinks she made it up, but it's a secret chant that her mom taught her when she was a little girl or something.
Yeah, but it was the kid who started singing. It wasn't her. It's the kid who started singing the song. I don't know. Either way, let's talk about, because like I said, I've got to wrap this up here. Englity, yeah, I know, right? Overall, I got to tell you, this turned out not to be a bad TV show. I liked it. Got to say, I wasn't looking forward to it, but I was willing to watch it because I liked Catherine Hahn and I liked WandaVision. I got to tell you, it was it turned out to be on the positive side of positive. When I'm looking at everything, and like I said, as far as this is concerned, I'm looking at all the TV shows: Ms. Marvel, WandaVision, Hawkeye, Loki, Moon Knight, Falcon, She-Hulk, Echo, Agatha, and Secret Invasion. I would probably put this around. I don't know. I'd put it above Moon Knight for sure. If I'm those are, by the way, the listing that Rotten Tomatoes has it on. By the way, the number one highest critic rating went to Ms. Marvel. By the way, yeah, the number one audience rating is 89% for Moon Knight. Go figure. I like this one better than Moon Knight. I love Moon Knight's first episode, but yeah, I kind of went down.
I wish they would put Werewolf by Night on that list, because I'm curious to see where it would come.
I know, right? Well, if you're wrapping this up, guess I'll go on to Geeky Pup Show. Go on ahead. We're going to be back here at 10:30 for some Scooby-Doo covers. Thanks for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about Agatha All Along for 9 episodes, or I guess this would be 8 because we doubled up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Agatha got me to like WandaVision. I have been checking out the MCU since Endgame, says Parasocial. Well, I hope you like a lot of it, really. My favorite TV show, actually, when I'm looking at them, I don't know, it might be Hawkeye. It was WandaVision and then Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel. Yeah, those are probably my top 4.
If we're counting
Loki and then Agatha All Along, just the live actions.
If we're counting only the multi-episode stuff, because I think still at the top of my post Endgame list is probably Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
But one thing that Agatha has over Werewolf by Night is that it's longer, and that it manages to be consistent in most of those episodes. So from sheer just enjoyment and depth factor, I would give it a slight edge to Agatha, actually, but it's neck and neck with Werewolf by Night.
Would Agatha All Along be better as a movie? I don't know if that would be true. The only thing, I mean, these were what, 35-minute episodes?
30-minute episodes, or sometimes shorter than that.
So it's just like 4 hours or so. Could they have cut it down a little bit? Probably here and there.
If you cut out episode 9 and you cut out episode 6.
Yeah, I wouldn't cut out everything. Episode 6 could be gone.
It means nothing, and it's annoying.
So that's half an hour right there. Definitely could trim out a little bit of episode
9 could have been reduced to a post-credit scene.
So I don't know if I could break this down to like even a 3-hour movie. So I don't know. That's a good question. Anyway, guys, in just a little bit, we're going to join and do some Scooby-Doo cover rankings. So please join us for that when the guys over at Geeky Pup Show are finished up with their reading. Thank you very much for hanging out. Don't forget to do all the clicking and sharing and all that kind of stuff. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Alrighty.